My name is Richard. I'm with Heart to Home Meals, and I'm just going to briefly tell you about that. And if you have any questions, before I want to get on to the brain health talk, but before I do, just want to let you know that we are a chef-curated frozen meal company based in Marlborough. Our international base is in the UK and Germany, in Europe, and we are in 10 countries. And our food is produced in Canada, and we use fresh ingredients, and our fish is never frozen. We do have all the special diets, that type of thing. Three things about us: we have no subscription. We're an old-fashioned business. No minimum. Free delivery. Our drivers are vetted so that they are background checked, and they will spend a few minutes visiting if you like, but they will provide whatever service you need, put the food into the freezer, that type of thing. They, just like Meals on Wheels volunteers, are eyes on the customer, so that if there are any concerns about the customer or the environment, they will address us, notify our office, and take whatever action is necessary. Just to give you a quick example of that, I had a driver that went to the door, and a lady came bundled up, and driver asked what was wrong, and she said, well, I don't have any heat, I'm out of oil, and I don't know how to get more oil. I can't figure out how to contact the oil company or who it was. So the driver said, well, get into my van, get warm, and then made a call to the office, and by that afternoon, the lady had oil and heat again. So it's that type of thing. So service is just as important, and the concerns of all of our customers. And we have younger customers with challenges as well as seniors. And so our focus is on the total person and not just getting a meal to them. I want to talk about why I'm here. My purpose for many years has been to share my story about brain health, and to encourage people to take care of their brain health and their general health at any age. But what happened to me when I was 43, and just to tell you a little bit about it, my story is one that I grew up in the flower business and family business. I loved working from the time I was a child, and I still love working. I've always got to be doing something productive, and it was very enjoyable to go to the door and deliver flowers and see the joy on someone's face. One thing I don't have in here is, but I'll tell you about that later. I had a lot of great relatives who were really great cooks. I learned to cook over an open fire. And to become an Eagle Scout, you had to learn to cook a lot of meals that way. And I did do that. One thing I didn't put in here is that my love of music. I played music for years. And before I got married the first time, I was in the music business. And then when I got married, I had to get a real job. So I became director of Meals on Wheels program, then director of adult daycare program. And my late first wife was a great cook. She used a lot of herbs and spices, so I learned a lot from her. I also, she gave me cookbooks. I learned a lot more from that. We did a lot of entertaining and did a lot of cooking. And so eventually we decided to open up a restaurant and a flower shop and a bakery all in one. And so we moved to the coast from where we lived in the South and opened up a restaurant. And on grand opening day, I was standing several feet away from a gas oven that exploded. And I was 43 years old. And all of a sudden, I was like many of the people that I had worked with who were twice my age and had cognitive issues. And all of a sudden, there I was trying to run a business and operate a kitchen. And I couldn't remember if I'd cut on the oven or if I had anything in the oven or what I was supposed to do. So I had to depend on other people to help me, but also I had to make sure that I wasn't distracted. I had to make a lot of notes and do a lot of things like that. But I also lost my sensation of hunger. Can you imagine not ever feeling hungry? And so, surrounded by food, I lost over 60 pounds. I had forgotten to eat. I couldn't remember if I ate, and I couldn't tell if I'd eaten. Of course, I had the nerve damage and the tinnitus, the ringing of the ears. Had the PTSD, like soldiers get. I had grown up at pistol ranges and rifle ranges, things like that. Those things never bothered me, and but it did with this, because according to an Army medic who I met at a skilled nursing facility, who told me that the reason for that is because it was unexpected. He said that's why soldiers who are around gunfire and explosions, they're riding along in a Humvee and everything's quiet, and then all of a sudden, boom. And he said part of the psychological issue is that it's unexpected, and that's part of their trauma. And he said that's why you experience that. I became impatient, short-tempered, but also my speech was impaired. I slurred my words. I stumbled over words. I forgot what I was saying in mid-sentence, and I might forget what I'm saying today, and I might pause and I might ask you, where was I? So these kinds of things happen. So I withdrew. I didn't talk to people or do any of those things, and that gave me a lot of concern. But the memory loss, even day-to-day people that I knew, and looking at things. I had to keep checking the oven to see if anything was in there because I couldn't remember. So I had to make a lot of notes, but I also had to make a detailed list of everything I had to do during the day. Very simple things and very organized. I got lost when I was driving. I had to have someone go with me wherever I went. Excuse me. And I knew that distractions caused a problem, so nobody could distract me because I would forget what I was doing if I was distracted. Stress. How many of you feel like when you get stressed, you can't think as clearly? Things like that. So that also was something I had to reduce. But to tell you a couple things of people that stepped in, where you see the craniosacral therapy and the nutrition. Before I get to that, I will tell you that I had a doctor who I went to every week, and every week he was giving me medications. Finally, the pharmacist said, enough is enough, and cut me off of the medication, said, you need to do something different. And even his own nurse, who saw me fall off of the scale when she was trying to weigh me because my blood pressure had dropped so low, she said, you need to find help elsewhere. And so one evening I had a couple that would come in for dinner, and they came up to the counter because we had an open kitchen and said to me and to my wife, we don't mean to butt into your business, but we're very concerned. We see your decline and we want to tell you our story. And the man said, my wife, you can't tell, but at one point she had a severe brain injury, was curled up fetal position. Doctors tried everything and finally gave up. And he said, I looked for other ways to help her, and I found craniosacral therapy, and I tried it, and it worked for her. And we have a friend that does this and is a therapist and would be willing to do this at no charge for you if you would be willing to do this. So I did do that, and it helped from the very beginning and made a difference. The nutritional aspect, there was an older lady. Anybody remember Minnie Pearl? This lady was her sister. And I mean, really, you would swear it was Minnie Pearl when you met her. But she used to come in from time to time and bring her grandchild, who was 3 years old, baby Jack, as she called him, in a stroller. And he had a terminal illness. But he'd come in, get a balloon, a cookie, look at our indoor gardens. And she said, one day she came in, put a steel can down on my counter, and said, I can't stand here and watch you die. And I want to tell you that this is why my grandchild is still alive, is because when the doctor said he wouldn't live past 2, I was feeding him these steel-cut oats every day, and it's kept him going. And she said, I'm going to come in here every day and cook these for you. It takes over 30 minutes to cook them. Anybody make steel-cut oats? You know it takes a while. And she said, I'm going to make you eat these every day. And I said, okay. I wasn't going to argue with her because she was a force to be reckoned with. And she was great-hearted. So these are the things people stepped in to literally save my life. Then within a couple of years, we had back-to-back hurricanes that kind of wiped out the economy and most of our businesses. And so I ended up doing a lot of fishing, golf, spent a lot of time in the library reading, because I knew that these things, stimulating the brain and learning new things. Plus, I had to reinvent myself because I couldn't do the things I used to do, or at least I didn't think I could. And one of the things I did was I got a computer. I started writing a book about my experience and about my journey. And then I also added to the other half of the book about how I cooked. And I created meals and how to put the meals together step by step. And I called the book Scrambled Brains. And so that was, and I'm still trying to get it out there. I've rewritten it several times. And so hopefully within the next year, I'll have that out after 25, 26 years. I had a greeting card business and postcard business that I did part-time that I had bought from an older man that he had neuropathy and he couldn't be on his feet long enough to take care of all these businesses. So I did do that. That helped me get back to getting out and about and being a productive person again, providing services for people. And then when my parents needed home care, the agency in their state that I went to meet with my parents, they said to me, we've talked to you, we know your background, we know what you've done in healthcare, and you're doing this as a volunteer for your friends and neighbors where you live now. Why don't you open up a home care business? And I said, well, I had this little issue. And they said, well, buy a franchise. A lot of it's already built in, and try it. So I spent some time doing a lot of due diligence about that, and I eventually bought a franchise and opened up a home care agency. And it gave me a platform to speak and do what I want to do, and that is share my story to encourage other people. And so socialization was one of the key factors in the fact that it got me back out again with people and talking with people. And studies have shown that it can reduce the risk for dementia, upwards of 25% in some studies. It can slow the progression of cognitive decline, improve your mood. I felt better. Life expectancy, I'm still here, 30 years later. So it has done that and increased the quality of my life. After my first wife passed away, I was a widower for 10 years. And then I met a wonderful woman up here, and I moved back north. I was in a state further south from here, but then where I grew up. And I really moved to Massachusetts, never knowing I would be here when I thought I would retire somewhere in a warmer climate. And I did for 18 years get to spend that time, but I am so glad I'm here. The people, the environment, the sports teams, all of that, the culture, all the things that there are to do here. We love art, we love music, so it's been a great life up here. So that makes a big difference. The socialization, my ability to get back out and meet a lot of different people, and especially working again with seniors like I had been doing, because I wanted to continue with that. A physical activity. How many of you think you get enough physical activity? 20 minutes a day. If you can get that, you're doing good. Increases energy and strength, improves your memory and mood, and of course it has some other benefits with the heart, diabetes, depression, and other things. Circulation gives your brain the nutrients it needs through the blood flow, and apparently your body or your brain needs 25% of your body's blood, which is hard to believe. This 10-pound brain needs all that blood, but it does. And so, as I said, about 20 minutes a day, 2.5 hours a week. So that's not a lot, just walking. How many of you walk every day? I have something on my phone tells me how many steps I take. I try for a 6,000 step day, which is, they say, a very good goal for you. Of course, there are other things too. We have a stationary bike at home. So there are things like that that you can do. You don't have to ride a bike in all the traffic these days. So there are certain things you can do. And stationary bikes are at Costco or BJ's relatively inexpensive. So that's one way to do it as you get older and still get your exercise. And of course, the risk of stroke is reduced by that as well, just by walking. And aerobic exercises. Anybody still swim? Of course, we got Wachusett right up here. We can ski. And of course, the cycling, but as I say, much safer to do the cycling on a stationary bike. Anybody a couch potato? Okay, good news for you. You can strengthen the neural connections in your brain, get that going at the same time while doing things like taking this thing here and switching hands. You ever try that? Yeah, I do once in a while, but not when I'm working. Remote controls. Switch hands on that. Brush your teeth with your other hand. And then, of course, you can always eat with your other hand, but I wouldn't do it in public. And mental stimulation. And I knew that was key when it happened to me as far as stimulating my brain. And so that's why I eventually, when I had time, went to the library and read everything I could. Fishing books, biographies, autobiographies, you name it, just a variety of books that I would find of interest, as well as getting magazines and things like that. And of course, all the food magazines were of big interest to me as well. And the brain, it's a muscle that needs exercising. And I think we all realized during COVID that lack of exercise in our brain did affect us, and it affected all ages. And that was something that is a big concern because so many younger people were affected by it. Learning new things. These are some of the things. New language, new musical instrument, or a different genre of music. Anybody play music? I played a variety of music. Never played blues until about 15 years ago. And so I had to learn scales and all of that. But the nice thing is, a lot of the blues, once you have the basics down, like cooking, then you get creative. And that is where the creative mind works well, even if you have memory issues. Board games, crossword puzzles, memory games. Anybody do any of those things? My dad did crossword puzzles all of his life, and he made it a goal every day since I was a child to complete the crossword puzzle. And he stayed sharp through most of his life. And even when he got dementia, once he moved to independent living where there was more socialization, his dementia decreased, and he was very much a very sociable person. Reading and writing. Anybody write stories, journals, do anything like that? That's an excellent source of brain stimulation. And then, of course, there's always nutrition. I will say that some years ago I went to hear an internist, a doctor who talked about how he treats his patients for congestive heart failure. And he had a list of all the treatments that he used. The top of the list was nutrition, food. He said, food is my number one treatment for my patients. And he goes down the list with all the other things that are treatments. And he gets to the bottom of the list, and he said, and the last thing I use is poison. And then he says, I mean medication. And that's what it said under medication. And so that was his point, is that food is medicine. And I have seen that written over and over again, where that is key. And of course, fruits and vegetables are very important. I hear you get some great fruits and vegetables from local sources here. And that is great. The more local the produce, the better it is. The fresher it is, the more nutrition is still in there. Leafy greens, I will say this, that before you change any diet, check with your doctor. Leafy greens can impact things like blood thinners. So be sure that you check with your doctor on that. But getting the servings of vegetables every day is key. Berries, I will say that every morning my wife and I have blueberries and raspberries. They're great antioxidants. The thing is, they're also low glycemic, so they don't spike your blood sugar as much as bananas and oranges, things like that do. And I will say that for those of you that can eat the leafy greens, this is an interesting study here from Rush University Medical Center, and that is where they had people eating a serving of greens every day, and they had another control group that didn't, but they always look at the group that, how they changed, and they did test them before and afterwards, and they found that their cognitive abilities afterwards showed people of 11 years younger as far as the abilities would go. So if you want to back up your age, this is the way to do it. Now, omega-3s. This is key for your brain. Your brain is made up of fat, 60% fats. And these are healthy fats. And these fats also help break down the fat-soluble vitamins as well. How many of you like fish? How many of you eat the cold water fish like cod and things like that, salmon? And a great source up here of fresh food. There we go. Saturated fats, as we all know, are not good, and even restaurants have gotten away from that. But the monosaturated and polyunsaturated fats are the good fats, so look for those. Nuts are a great source of that. The antioxidants, proteins, the fiber, all those things are in there as well. And they're a great source of just a good snack as well. Next time you have an urge to eat a bag of potato chips, get the nuts instead. Just go moderately on the nuts because they are fats, and so you don't want to overdo it on that. Olive oil, extra virgin olive oil is a great source of omega-3s. One thing I would warn you about is that they can convert to carcinogens if they're superheated. If you put them into a fry pan, things like that, that's where you want to use other oils like avocado oil, grapeseed oil, that type of thing. Olive oil is great on salads and blending it with anything where you keep the olive oil at room temperature. Whole grains. How many of you eat whole grains? Love them. Okay. You see quinoa here. Quinoa is a seed considered a whole grain, but it's also a complete protein. Eating wheat pasta. Anybody try wheat pasta? There's also the hybrid whole wheat pasta, which has a little bit of whole wheat in it, which is better than just going with the straight white flour or semolina pasta. But bread, this is another subject. How many of you eat whole wheat bread? Oh, okay, great. How many of you eat 100% whole wheat bread? When you go to the store, look for the label that says 100% whole wheat. Whole wheat bread can be labeled that way if it contains even 5% whole wheat. So you have to read your ingredients and read very carefully what you're getting. But whole greens decrease the risk of stroke, heart disease, type 2 diabetes. It's a great source of fiber. And I will say, just on a personal note, fiber is key. I lost a brother at 57, basically because of diet between the red meat and the lack of fiber, causing stomach cancer. So that is key, and I definitely strongly encourage you to try to get the fiber that you need, 25 to 30 grams a day of that. So basically, you're wanting to avoid sugar, added sugar, saturated fats, and excess sodium. And of course, the salt content in so many things is still extremely high, so do look for that. A low sodium meal is considered anything under 500 grams according to the FDA. So when you're looking at what you're consuming, look at those factors. And that's kind of a simple approach to eating well, is just reading the label, but also trying to get, like you do here, whole foods. In other words, fresh produce, that type of thing, fresh fish, chicken, things like that. Trying to avoid the red meats as much as possible. So that's pretty much a way to approach that, and so that you don't have this attitude that people have had for years that, oh, I have to go on a diet, I can't eat tasty foods anymore. There are a lot of foods like these here that you can eat that are low in sodium as well. And I will say, when it goes to sodium, in my restaurant, I had no deep fryer. I used very little salt. I used a lot of herbs, a lot of spices, zest from lemons, limes, oranges, things like that. A lot of garlic, a lot of onion. Used a lot of other flavorings for foods. Even with my rice, I added pecans to it, chopped up celery, carrots, things like that, sometimes bell pepper. So I flavored my food so that you didn't have to put a lot of salt, things like that on there. Didn't even have salt shakers on the tables. People had to ask for salt because I flavored my food. And that's what's key, is adding other flavors to your food so that you don't have to add a lot of butter, a lot of salt to your food. Most of what we have are more lunch, dinner items, but we do have some breakfast items, some oatmeal and things like that, as well as some eggs and things like that. Our desserts, they are third party right now. We don't have a bakery in our food production yet. We hope to, so that we can control that better. But they are from places like Tabletop, but we try to get New England based if we can. Desserts. We do have some wonderful soups as well. And then one thing that will be coming out around the first of the year will be formed pureed foods. In other words, foods that look like foods, but they're pureed. Chicken that has grill marks on it. But it's great for people with swallowing issues. So we are really excited about having that to provide for folks, because I know that there are quite a few people that have asked about that. And when I go to hospitals and rehab centers, that's the one thing that the case managers ask me about is, do you have pureed foods? And we have won awards for it in the UK for the pureed foods, because it's called dining with dignity. You literally get to eat your food off of a plate with a fork. And so it makes a big difference. They're delivered together because they come frozen in a freezer van, and we deliver in each area once a week. We just ask that you call at least 2 days before the delivery day. In this area, it's on Friday, so before 4 on Wednesday if people call. And we cover all of Massachusetts except for the Berkshires, and that's very sparsely populated and a long distance. And of course, we work with Southern New Hampshire with the Medicaid program there, and half of Rhode Island is also serviced. And then we branch out like we did in Canada. We are opening franchises because the business is a small local business concept, and the only way to service people that way is to have what we call depots in areas so that they get to know the customers, they can reach them within that day, and so it is operated like that, as opposed to sending them out with third-party delivery and not providing the service, because service is as important. Because we have people that come to the door with a walker or with a cane. They can't pick up a 10 or 20 pound box and then unload it and have, especially with something hazardous in it like dry ice, things like that, but also just the fact that the people that get our food are people that are in need of service as well as food. Now, we do have people that are active that still like to cook, but still like the convenience of having meals a few days a week that they don't have to cook. And in the wintertime, I fell on the ice last year on our driveway, and I don't want to get out in the ice, and most people don't either. So when the weather is bad, this is the time to have backups in the freezer that you can just go get your food. And it stays good because it's in the freezer. And so it is nice. You can budget for your meals by knowing this is what it's going to cost you. And you know it's not going to go bad. So. And we have great customer service in Marlboro, so if you have any questions at all, feel free to call them. They're not going to try to sell you, get you to order meals. They're basically just there to answer questions. And if you want to order, they'll be glad to help you with that and help you find what you need or want or what you like. So thank you all. Yes, sir.
If they're coming once a week, my freezer's kind of small.
Mm-hmm.
Do they have to stay frozen before you cook them?
Yes, they do. Mm-hmm.
You can't thaw them in the refrigerator?
No, because the timing on them is based on being frozen. And then they will go bad if you leave them in there more than a few days anyway. Like most foods, once they thaw, then they start to deteriorate. We will give you a 2-hour window. We'll let you know the day before, within 2 hours of when the driver's going to arrive. So that day, if you plan to go to the store or if you have an appointment, then you know when they're going to arrive. Now, if you already have an appointment and you won't be there during that time, you could leave a cooler with some ice in it, but you would need to let us know at least a day before or two, so we can let the driver know that there will be a cooler and where it will be, and to leave the food in the cooler, because they won't leave food there if you're not home. And you won't be charged for it either if you're not home. They'll put it back into the freezer van.
So it doesn't come packed in a cooler with dry ice or whatever?
No, they load it into a cardboard box and they bring it to you. Now they will unpack it for you and take the box away if you want them to dispose of the box for you.
And do you have anything that's dry? I mean, like a cereal or something that we would do, or is everything already pre-cooked?
Everything is pre-cooked and already frozen.
And coming in from Canada, are you worried about tariffs increasing your prices?
Uh,
I mean, you must-
that's something that they're still trying to figure out. Of course, the government's still trying to figure out about tariffs too. So that's kind of up in the air. But it's like once it's set, then they can deal with it. But even when prices went up before, we kept our prices lower than other people did, and we also kept the percentage of lower than inflation too, so that when things went up 11, 12% at one time, that just jumped up, we were at, I think, 9%. So we do try to keep the prices as low as possible and search out the best sources for good quality food, but at good prices too. So it's because we know I'm a senior, and fortunately I'm still working some, but being on a set budget, and even though I'm working, I'm on a set budget, but still, once I do retire, which I hope I never completely retire, I'll still volunteer because I got to stay active. But still, the fact is, we know that it's tough out there, and so we're trying to do the best we can to provide good quality, but still good prices too. And that's tough to do. But well, we worked all our lives. We deserve good quality things we worked for, and so that's important too, that we get that. But I do want to say one thing. I know that I mentioned I ran Meals on Wheels, and I want to say that it's a very important program, and it's vital because there are people that either can't afford to pay for their own meals. There are people that don't have the insurance, like we do work with insurance programs, but they may not be on an insurance program that covers that. And so this way they can still get the Meals on Wheels. The other thing is that if they can't even heat their own meals, they come hot. And the most important thing is this: these people on Meals on Wheels oftentimes need a daily check-in. We're there once a week. Meals on Wheels is there 5 days a week usually. Some are 2 or 3 days a week, but most are 5 days a week. But people get those check-ins, and that is important. And I know that when I ran Meals on Wheels, people would call and say, I went to see so-and-so, and she is having this problem. So I would immediately call the social worker and say, you need to go see her right away. So that's where it's important. So we are not trying to compete in any way. And in fact, sometimes we supplement the weekends, or even when people want extra meals at night or things like that, that they need that aren't provided. We fill in the gaps for that. So we are there to be a support for them as well. So, thank you. Yes, sir.
Can you go over the process for ordering meals and your menus and?
Absolutely. I have the menus over here. You're welcome to take the information there. But when you call our office, each meal has 3 numbers on it, so that, because there are a lot of meals that are similar. There are 3 meatloafs. Well, so you want to get the right one with the tomato sauce or the home style sauce, or I love the one with the rich onion gravy. But so you tell them that. But the thing is, when you call them, they are so helpful that they'll, if you have no ideas, they'll say, well, do you like fish, or do you like beef, or are you vegetarian? Are you on a special diet? That type of thing. So they will really get to know you. I was walking by the office one day, or by the desk in the office one day, and there were doggy treats there. And I said to the person, I said, what are the doggy treats for? Do you have dogs? She said, no. She said, I got those for Ms. So-and-so. Every time I talk to her, she talks about her dog. And so I just wanted to be sure to send her some of those. So they do things like that. They have an Amazon account that provides for special events like birthdays, and they send really neat cards and things like that, and little gifts and things. So they do have those things. So it is personalized, and they do get to know the customers, which is well beyond, I think, most customer services. You don't have to push a button and press 1 for this or press 2 for that. When you call, if they're busy, you'll get a message that says, we're busy, but we'll get to you. But you won't get a menu telling you to push all these buttons, and then someone will come on and they'll take their time with you. And I've done some of that myself when they've needed some extra help. I've been pitching in it, and I was answering the phone for a while there too. So it was, and it's quite
Totally phone in.
absolutely.
Online ordering or.
You can do online ordering as well. 70% of the folks like to call us because it's another way of human contact, which we all need so much. But if you think about it over the weekend and you want to put in an order, you can go online and place an order that way as well. And we do have some families that have a parent that they want to make sure they have food, so they go online and they order for them. But then if the parent has either text messaging or an email, they will be notified the day before of the delivery. But because the delivery is the same day every week, they get to know that. Plus the family that involved usually is in contact with the person on a regular basis. So it works out great with that. So there are a lot of ways that people can place the orders. And
Don't forget to feed your cameraman.
oh, absolutely. I've got your omelet over here, and you've got to try that food too. Thank you for coming in. Oh, okay. All right. Okay, well, thank you again very much, and thank you, Sheila, for having me. So, and I have had meals here, and they are delicious.